Hey guys, welcome to Pistons Talk Podcast post-game show. Hope you guys are having a great, what day is it? Is it Saturday or Friday? I think it's Friday, and I have to check my phone. The days are just catching up with me like crazy. It's Friday night. It's 11:30 as I'm recording this podcast. I did want to get some feedback though, for people that will be listening to this later. Now, I'm trying something different. I'm trying a new broadcast service. So let me know, visually if you're watching this on YouTube later, how it looks. And on the audio side, if you're an audio listener, would love any type of feedback, how the audio sounds on this new platform that I'm using. I've gotten some complaints. Um, More on the podcast side that the audio cuts in and out at times. So I want to try something different, making sure it sounds the best for however you guys really consume these podcasts, whether it's live on YouTube or maybe it's just in the car listening to us on a podcast platform. But just wanted to get that out there before we start this game. So Pistons are playing the Bucks, last home game of the season. And the first thing we got on the injury report was no Isaiah Stewart tonight. Little knee inflammation, but I mean, injuries this time of year, it's just, rest at the end of the day. I'm not really too worried about Isaiah Stewart. The way he played yesterday, I think he does deserve some much needed rest. It's the defense that he was playing on Karl Anthony Towns. Amazing. So no Stu tonight. All the starters were healthy. So let's just get that out there. Obviously, Milwaukee still no Dame Lillard, dealing with blood clots. There could be a chance he could possibly come back in the playoffs from what I've read, but not really sure about that. But Pistons and Bucks in this first quarter, I really thought that this was going to be a game where they were going to run away with it. And Cade started off really hot. Like these past three games, he is in his groove. Um, And I think it's so important for him to end off the season strong because going into the playoffs, you need Cade Cunningham at 100% health. You need Cade Cunningham just being a force out there. And that's what he did in the first quarter, dropped 12 points. And at one point in this game, like the Pistons were up double digits. Uh, Jalen Duren did such a good job, I thought, containing Giannis in the first quarter. Pistons had an 11-point lead, but what happened is when Jalen Duren needed some rest, Paul Reed did his best. He just did not guard Giannis the same way, and Giannis took full advantage of that. So the Pistons had to settle for a 1-point lead to end the first quarter, 36-35. But I was very encouraged in the way that the Pistons were defending, communicating, defensively and offensively. So that's the end of the first quarter. They had 11-point lead. They had to settle for a 1-point lead. Going into the second quarter, the Bucks went on this run. Now it was an 11-1 run to end the first quarter. Obviously, it got up to a 21-1 run with the second unit, and Giannis was just taking advantage of Paul Reed guarding him. Obviously, Jalen Duren weighs a little bit more. I think we can all agree that Jalen Duren definitely does not look like a 21-year-old, this physique-wise. Like, he looks like he's in the gym every day. No shot at Paul Reed. I'm sure Paul Reed's in the gym as well, but, like, Giannis took full advantage of Paul Reed being a couple pounds lighter than Jalen Duren. And, the bench just go, or the Bucks just go on that run. And Giannis had a triple-double tonight. He's just so hard to keep out of the painted area. And, like, if you do miss a shot, you're just holding your breath, making sure it's not a foul. But the bench unit eventually did get this game, within 6 points at one point. And, Cade came back out, and Cade was still hot. Like, he had 21 points at halftime. And they close out the second quarter on a 12-4 run and got this game within 3 points at halftime, 68-65. So even though the Bucks went on that 21-1 spurt, the Pistons were able to stay in this game and only keep it a 3-point lead for the Milwaukee Bucks. Coming out of halftime, um, there were multiple instances in this third quarter where it was a 5, 6 point Milwaukee Buck lead. Bucks get it up to 9 um, in the third. Giannis was just kicking out to 3-point shooters, and they were hitting. Whether it was Brook Lopez, Gary Trent, Kyle Kuzma, um, he just did a really good job of just finding the open 3-point shooters, and the team is built for that, obviously. Um, and he's just such a headache to game plan for. But the Pistons did go on a run. They went on an 11-2 run in the third. And I thought this was very important given that they were trailing by 9 and they had an opportunity to, get this game tied and eventually take a small lead to go into the third. And, Malik Beasley was hitting big time 3-point shots against his former team. And we'll probably get into the end of the fourth quarter and the Giannis and Malik stuff. But to end the third quarter, 98-97. Going into the fourth, Cade still hot. And it's so good to see him just play well for a full 48. Hit some big time threes really early in the fourth. There was a little scuffle between Kevin Porter Jr. and Jalen Duren. Obviously, Kevin Porter Jr. Had a really nice dunk. Don't want to take anything away from him over Jalen Duren. Jalen Duren sets a pretty good pick, I thought. I didn't think there was anything dirty about it. Give him a little shoulder. And Kevin Porter Jr. decides to try to move Jalen Duren. He did his best. I'll give him an A for effort. Both forearms to the back. And nothing really happened of it. He got a flagrant 1. And I'll just say this about Kevin Porter Jr. I'm surprised he didn't get ejected from the game. Not just with the Jalen Duren and the that scuffle or the altercation, whatever you guys want to call it. There were multiple plays throughout the game where Dennis Schroeder got backhanded in the face. He was being physical, but like not in a way where it's like good defense. It was just kind of like cheap shit, like that. It just you can tell he's kind of a punk, and I think the Pistons took exception to it. But I think what really lost the Pistons this game was a couple things. I think when you only shoot 50% from the free throw line, that does hurt. Even though the Bucks got to the free throw line a few more times, you have to shoot better than 50% from the line. And the turnovers down the stretch, especially in the last 2 minutes, really hurt them because this was a back and forth game. I thought this was a very winnable game for the Pistons, even though it seemed like there were a lot of questionable calls down the stretch with Curtis Blair just not calling it. There was one early in the first that they said it was an over and back, and it wasn't on Ron Holland. Just I don't want to blame the refs, but like there were some questionable calls. Obviously, the Pistons still had a shot to win this, but they do fall to Milwaukee 125-119, final home game of the season. I just like the effort because Milwaukee has been a team that has had the Detroit Pistons number for several years. Obviously, they still lose this game, but they were able to keep this game pretty close. And didn't really give Milwaukee the opportunity to have a 20-point lead. Biggest lead they had, I think, was an 11-point lead, and they came back in the third and it got it close. But overall, I like the effort. They do have to play the Bucks one more time on Sunday at their place, which will be an ESPN game. So it'll be interesting to see who actually plays because the Pistons will be locked in with the New York Knicks in the first round, and the Bucks will be locked in with the Indiana Pacers. So, you have your 4-5 matchup with Milwaukee and Indiana, and then the Pistons have the New York Knicks with that 3-6 seed. But don't really have too much to say, really, because we're going to see you guys this Sunday on a longer form podcast. Probably like maybe an hour or so, maybe longer. You never know how those Sunday podcasts go. I mean, we had Corey on for 2 hours. We had Sean on for 2 hours. We had Eric on for 2 hours. I hope it's not a 2 hour podcast, but you never know how the conversation goes. We're going to be having Pistons Jacob actually back on the show. I don't know if you guys do remember him. We had him on earlier in the summer, and it was a really good conversation. Really enjoyed having him on, but we'll be having him on Sunday around our regular time, 7 o'clock on the podcast if you guys want to check that out. But again, Pistons follow the Bucks in their final home game, 125-119. Hope you guys have a great rest of your weekend. Be safe. And as always, go Pistons. Peace.